And we're going to start the webinar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HTD's office hours for ESG. My name is Tuesday Cool, and I will be your moderator for today's office hours. We are going to hold for just a minute for more of our colleagues to join us for today's session. In the meantime, I want to invite you all to introduce yourselves in the chat with your name and the region you represent. We will begin soon. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Again, welcome to this week's office hours for ESG. My name is Tuesday Cool, and I'm today's moderator. If you're just joining us, please go to the chat and introduce yourselves with your name and the region you represent. As a reminder, this office hours session is being recorded for public record. Next slide. How to ask a question. All questions must be submitted to the question box that's down at the bottom of your screen and it says Q&A with a question mark. Please type your organization and the question in the question box. The team will read questions out loud at the end of the presentation and will provide answers throughout the presentation in the Q&A box or out loud as time permits. Alongside our presenters, we have several HCD staff, including ESG representatives and specialists, who can help you answer questions during the Q&A session. Please put your questions in the Q&A box. Don't put them in the chat. We lose them so quickly if they're in the chat. Thank you. One quick note, it is against HCD policy to allow AI note takers during meetings. Please disable any AI note takers during this office hours session. Otherwise, you will be removed. We will remove the participant from the meeting so the AI note taker can be disabled. Thank you. Next slide. Please note that both the slides and the recording will be sent to all participants within approximately 2 weeks of today's session. Next slide. The 2024 ESG NOFA schedule. 2024 application portal is open with final applications due by 5 p.m. this Friday, March 28th, 2025. We expect to have award announcements in June of this year. Next slide. The expenditure performance milestones reminders for 2023 grants. The expenditure deadline for your 2023 contract is August 17th, 2025, which is very close. This is the cutoff date for all expenses incurred for this 2023 contract. And tying directly to the expenditure deadlines, we recommend grantees submit RFFs monthly. This will expedite the RFF review process and result in faster reimbursement, as opposed to submitting multiple RFFs at the same time or at the end of your grant, which could make delays, especially with our monitoring process that we require. At minimum, your standard agreement requires that you submit RFFs at least quarterly, but we really do recommend that you submit monthly RFFs. Next slide, please. First, RFF requirements for the 2023 grant. Remember, we are requiring full backup documentation for all line items with your first RFF. The first RFF full backup documentation is required for all line items listed in the DR and by component. If you need clarification, we can provide you with a client file checklist for rapid rehousing and other ESG components. All supporting documentation must be uploaded into eCivis along with your DER and RFF. We cannot accept submissions by email. And please make sure to redact any personal identifying information prior to submitting. In addition, if you were awarded rapid rehousing or homelessness prevention funds, you must have approved policies and procedures in place prior to submitting and getting funded for your first RFF. So to summarize, when submitting your first RFF, full backup documentation is required for all line items identified on your DER. Take that into consideration as you prepare your first DER and RFF. You might want to do a smaller RFF with a few less items on it to make the process of uploading all the documentation and getting them reviewed a little less onerous. Next slide. For the second request for funds requirements, once the first RFF has been monitored and approved and any problems that we might have identified taken care of, each subsequent RFF will require supporting documentation for 2 line items per component. You get to pick the line items that you provide supporting documentation for. If you have rapid rehousing or homelessness prevention, please include at least one client file if you're requesting a reimbursement for any for like rental assistance and those kinds of things that involve direct client assistance. And of course, please ensure that you redact all the PII from any files when you submit it into eCivis. HCD may request additional supporting documentation for those additional RFFs if we don't feel that we have a good representation of what you've requested on your subsequent RFFs. Next slide, please. All right, our general ESG updates. 2024 contract exhibit templates are posted on our website. You are encouraged to review these ahead of receiving your award packages so that maybe your legal teams and such can review them and get them approved and signed quicker. Also, please upload your 2023 policy approval letter that should have been sent to you sometime earlier this grant year with your 2024 application. That'll make it easier for us to review and approve your policies and procedures for 2024 application. Please make sure your contact information is current in eCivis. If we return an RFF for corrections, the parties listed in eCivis are going to be notified, and that'll expedite how long it takes us to get our corrections and get back to processing the RFFs and getting you your payments on time. I also wanted to let you know that we are reviewing your 2024 applications as they are submitted and may reach out to you for additional information. Keep your eyes out on your email and respond to those as soon as possible so that we can keep the 2024 applications moving forward. Next slide. And as always, if you have a question on your RFFs or other ESG related items, please reach out to your ESG representative or the ESG NOFA email. And that's esgnofa@hcd.ca.gov. Next slide. Excellent. Now it's on to our Spotlight series. We're going to be having a live demo of the 2024 ESG NOFA application in eCivis. Moving on to today's Spotlight series, we'll be focusing mostly on the 2024 application. But I wanted to, before I hand this off, I wanted to remind everybody that this NOFA allows for all applicants to apply for up to 1% administrative costs. In the past, only organizations that were local government qualified for administrative costs, but now with our move over to state guidelines from regulations, we have changed that. And I want you to keep that in mind when you're obtaining your recommendation form from your COC and when you're filling out your budget. If you want admin, you can have up to 1%. And we're going to move on to the most frequently asked questions that we've received recently. And I'm going to hand off the spotlight to our ESG program manager, Tim Coop Whitley. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tuesday. Next slide, please. All right, so thank you everybody for joining today. So a lot of us have probably seen these questions over the last few weeks pop up during our office hours series here. So we do apologize if these are repetitive for some folks on the call today, but we definitely want to make sure that everybody understands the process for the application requirements. And so we're just reviewing these questions again in case anybody here may not have seen these prior, and then if they still have these questions. So first question that we've gotten for this application cycle is, can you confirm that the authorizing resolution must follow the template provided by HCD in order to be accepted as a part of the ESG application? And the answer is yes. Applicants must submit their authorizing resolution on the HCD provided templates. And those templates are available on our website, on the ESG website, in case anybody would like to view those templates. Our local governing body requires an authorizing resolution different than the required HCD template. So the answer to this one is, if your governing board requires a template that differs from the required HCD authorizing resolution, then your agency may submit two resolutions if you wish. So, so the first one would be the required HCD authorizing resolution template found on our website. And then the second one, if applicable, your authorizing resolution that conforms to the local standards of your governing. Okay, next slide, please. All right, next question. We are going to submit a 3-year authorizing resolution. Do we enter the 3-year total or the 1-year total from Appendix A located in the NOFA? So the answer for this is, for a 3-year authorizing resolution, you will list the 3-year amount in the authorizing resolution. And if you are choosing to do a 1-year resolution, you will list the 1-year amount in the authorizing resolution. And then the next question is, why do we enter 150% in the applicable sections in the authorizing resolution template, or the 25% in the applicable section? So the answer is, for a 3-year resolution, you will list the 3-year amount in the authorizing resolution. And then there are specific instructions in the templates. And so for those who have additional questions about what number to enter, just please read those instructions that are outlined in the template. And if you have additional questions about that, always reach out to your ESG representative, or you can email the ESG NOFA inbox with any additional questions on this question. Next slide, please. Okay, COC recommendation letter. We do seem to get a lot of questions about this one, so we're just going to cover this here. The biggest question we've seen is, who signs the COC recommendation letter? So the answer to that is the authorized representative for the COC will sign this recommendation letter, and the sample of the second page of the letter is outlined here on the slide here. And so it will not be your authorized rep that's in your resolution. That is a different person. And so the COC recommendation letter is to be signed by the authorized rep of the COC. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, our next questions are regarding budget and goals. Should we enter the 1-year or 3-year budget in eCivis at the time of application? This is a great question. So, so due to the nature of this funding cycle, which we are transitioning to a 3-year funding cycle and standard agreement, for the purposes of the application, you will only enter the 1-year budget into eCivis. And so do not enter a 3-year. So the reason for that is, each year we are going to be amending your standard agreement. And then at that time of amendment, we will be adjusting budgets and goals at that time. And so there's no need to enter a 3-year budget at this time. And so you're just going to enter that 1 year. And then at the time of amendment, the ESG staff will reach out to you regarding that amendment. And then we will, at that time, you'll have the opportunity to amend the budget at that time. Next question is, for the indirect cost budget worksheet, should we enter the 1-year or 3-year amount in eCivis? So great question. Again, it's just going to be the 1 year. And so similar answer to the prior question, we are going to be amending the standard agreements. And so at that time, we will reach out, and then so it's no need for the 3-year, but for the 1-year amount only. And then, so we do have some folks who have maybe have some questions about how to enter the budget and goals into eCivis. And so I am going to do just a little demonstration here. So I'm going to steal the screen here. Okay, can everyone see my screen here? Awesome. Okay, so I'm in the eCivis application portal, and so for those that have this screen probably looks super familiar with to a lot of folks, and so just as a reminder, when you are in the portal and you have your application open here, you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. Okay, and I'm just going to move this over here. And you can see on the bottom, so you have the different application sections, but if you keep scrolling all the way to the bottom, you're going to see another section that says application budget and goals. All right. And so this is the section where you're going to make those edits. Okay. So I know it's a little misleading as far as we have this budget thing right here that's, you can edit. Please ignore this budget box at the bottom. That's not where you enter the budget. So you're going to go all the way to the bottom, and then you're going to scroll over to where it says actions on the far right. And there's three little lines here. And when you click on those three lines, you'll be able to have the options to either edit your budget or edit your goals. Okay, so that is where you're going to make those changes. So once you click on edit budget, a new screen will open for you and the budget screen will appear. Okay, and so that's how you would enter your budget numbers here. And just as a reminder for those that are still working on this, so when you are applying for your individual components in the application, just a reminder that both direct and indirect costs are actually located in this application portal here. So different from prior years, just so everybody knows, okay? And so we do ask that when you're entering your budget numbers that you only enter numbers that are in the cost column, okay? You do not need to enter numbers under units, unit cost, extended cost, et cetera. Do not enter numbers in there. So only enter numbers that are in the cost column. And then if you are applying for indirect costs, you will also enter that number directly below. Okay, so that is the correct process for entering numbers for the components that you are applying for. If you are not applying for indirect costs with this application, then you can leave the indirect cost row blank or as zeros. Okay. And then once you are done, you'll have the opportunity to put a budget narrative at the bottom. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have the opportunity to enter that as well. And then you can see all of the ESG components are located in the budget here. So please fill out your budget according to what you're applying for, and then you have the opportunity to save the changes once you are done. Okay. Okay, and then just another tip, we're going to jump to the goals real quickly for those that may have questions about the goals section. So the portal will take you to the goals right here. Okay, so just as a reminder to everybody here, in case anybody is still working on this section and working to get it completed, we're only looking for the numbers to be filled in under the target units, which is the first column that you'll see once you open the goals page. Okay, so please do not worry about entering direct cost expenditures or matching expenditures or program income expenditures. You don't have to worry about entering those. We just need numbers filled in under the target units for the components that you're applying for. So everything is outlined. We do ask for every applicant to fill out their goals for the age goal category that's listed at the top here. And then you can see the breakdown as you scroll down onto the goals, you can see the breakdown of components, okay? So ES will stand for emergency shelter, and then so forth. And then we do have a gender goal activity that we ask all applicants to fill out as well. And then if you keep scrolling, HP will be for homelessness prevention. And so if you are applying for that, we do ask you to fill out those goals and so forth for the additional components. RRH will be rapid rehousing and street outreach for SO. And then that is the bottom here. So this does look a little bit different than in prior years, but we do ask you just to complete that first row that says target units here. Okay, we are going to return to the application one more time here. We are going to log in one more time because eCivis makes us log in multiple times sometimes. Okay, so just some quick tips for those that may still be working or may still have questions on how to print sections. I know we've gotten this question from a lot of applicants for this, and so I just want to kind of show a really quick tip on how to do that. So within each section of the application portal, so for instance, applications, environmental review, legislative contacts, all of these are the application sections. So if the section requires a signature, okay, you're going to go into that section. If you've already completed it and it's marked complete, that's fine. And everything is done as far as it, but then you have that question of it requires an authorized representative signature. How do I print? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to open that section, and then right at the top, you'll see a little blue arrow next to the title of the application section. Click on that little blue arrow, and you'll be given options to preview it or to print it. Okay, and so that is the same for every application section. So if you need to print the match worksheet section, same thing. If you need to print the indirect cost certification, same thing. You just go into each section, click on that blue arrow, and then you'll give options to print, and you will be able to either you can print it to your physical printer in your location, or you can print a PDF, and you can electronically sign the document, and then you can upload it in the section that it allows. Okay. So that is how to print any section that will, if you want to print it to save it, if you need to print it to get it signed, whatever you need to do, that is how to print. Okay, and then I am also in the application section, and I want to just give some reminders for folks for submitting their required documents with the application. Okay, so in the application section, I'm going to scroll all the way it starts where it says application information. And so this is the section where you list your applicant name, your organization name, and so forth. And then right under where it says select your government agency organization type. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody is clear in this part. Okay, if you are a city or a county, a government, local government, this is where you can upload your government TIN. Okay, so if you are an applicant that is a city or a county government entity, you will upload your government TIN here. Okay, so when you select this, if you're a county, that's fine. You can upload your government TIN there. If you're a city, this will also populate as well. Okay, if you are a JPA that is applying. You can upload the agreement here. So once you select your organization type, these little upload options will appear in the portal. Okay, so make sure that you, anything that's applicable that we need to be required here. So the JPA agreement, the JPA organization chart, and then the memorandum of understanding, also known as the MOU. Okay, and then also bylaws as well. And so just make sure that anything that is marked with a red asterisk is uploaded with your application. Okay, and finally, if you are a nonprofit that is applying for ESG funding, okay, as soon as you select that nonprofit, there's going to be sections of documents that are required with the application, such as your organization's current bylaws. Okay, so that is an upload option here. If your organization has any amended bylaws, if it's applicable, that is also required here as well to upload. Okay, if you are a nonprofit applying, the STD 204 form is required from your organization. You can upload that right here. Okay, you also are required to upload your organization's 501c status. That is an option here as well. And then finally, if you're a nonprofit applying, your articles of incorporation are required to be uploaded here as well. So if anybody on the call today is a nonprofit that is applying, and let's just say, oops, I forgot to upload those things, or I'm not really sure yet, and I already submitted my application, not to worry, okay? So we still have time. If you have submitted your application to us and you're unable to edit, please contact us. Please send us an email at ESG NOFA, the NOFA inbox, and the ESG staff will happily be able to put your application status back into draft mode, and you'll have the opportunity to upload those required documents. If you are a nonprofit or a JPA and you maybe forgot, to put these these documents in the application, please notify us right away, and we can put your application in draft, and you can have the opportunity to provide those documents. Okay, and so, but if you have not done that yet, I just wanted to show that here so you know where to upload that information. Okay, and then finally in the application section, I just want to point out real quick, if you go all the way to the bottom, and you'll see options for additional file uploads, okay? And so if you don't know where to upload a signed document, let's just say a COC recommendation form, for instance, if you can upload that document here, okay? And so anything additional maybe that didn't have a section for you to upload, you can upload that here. There should be about 6 different options for uploading, okay? And I'm going to go back up just a little bit in this section. Okay, just a quick reminder for the resolution. So this is where you upload your signed governing board resolution. If you're going to have a designee letter, some applicants will, some won't. But if you will, this is where you can upload that designee letter right here as well. Okay, and then if you have an additional document to upload that is related to the resolution, there's also a third option to upload here as well. Okay. So I'm going to close this section. I'm going to jump over to the indirect cost certification. And again, if to have this one side, so I click on that blue arrow, you can have the options to print. Okay. So under where it says, if you are claiming more than 15% de minimis indirect cost rate, you can see these different options here. If you are applying for indirect costs, and we've provided a workbook worksheet to complete, this is where you can upload that completed worksheet. Okay, so right under the indirect costs certification page. Okay, and so please make sure that the percent that your organization will be requesting is correct on your worksheet. Okay, so the 15% is available for this application, but please note that it's not a required. If your organization is going to take a lesser percentage, please indicate that on the budget worksheet. Okay, so please know that the percent did change from the prior funding cycle, but if you don't want to take the 15% and you want to take a lower percentage, please make sure that percent is indicated on your workbook, and so ESG staff will know that is the percentage that your organization is taking. Okay, and I just want to also say a quick note on the indirect cost budget worksheet. I know we've gotten a lot of questions about numbers kind of auto-populating and not auto-populating and that sort of thing. So so we do apologize that the workbook is not all the way auto-populate on every section, but we do ask that every applicant, when they are filling that out, if you are applying for indirect costs, this worksheet is required. So make sure that you do get that filled out, and please ensure before you upload it that all the totals are correct and they match what is indicated in your budget as well. Okay, and so the ESG staff will be looking at your indirect cost budget worksheet if you are applying for indirect costs, and also as your budget that you filled out. So please make sure that the indirect costs that you're listing in the worksheet also match in the indirect cost section of the budget. Okay, so we will be looking that those numbers match. We have received a few applications thus far where those numbers did not match, and so we do have to return those applications to get those corrected. So please make sure that the numbers are correct in both your worksheet and also in the budget, so there's no conflicting numbers there as well. Okay. And again, just another reminder. So as you complete the different sections of the application, just make sure that everything is complete, and then you're going to open into each section to print that or print a PDF, and then get your authorized representative to sign that form, and then you can upload it with the application. So so thank you for everybody's patience on us on staff working through this. I know there's been a lot of questions over the last few weeks on how to do certain things, and so we thank you for reaching out and asking those questions. We love receiving them, and so if there's any more questions between now and the due date, please don't hesitate to reach out regarding those portal questions as well. All right, Gio, if I can get our regular slideshow back up, that would be awesome. Just bear with us here. All right, awesome. Next slide, please. Okay, so next question that I have gotten a lot of questions for, and then I know I just touched on it again. So what is the indirect cost workbook? So we just kind of talked about that briefly, but it is located under the file section of the ESG solicitation. And so if you're not familiar with what this workbook is, you can download a copy of that under the files. And if you are claiming indirect cost, again, this workbook identifies your indirect costs in your budget. So this is a required form to fill out if you are applying for that. And just as a reminder, again, it does not auto-populate, so please ensure that your totals are correct before you finalize and upload your indirect cost workbook, okay? What is the indirect cost rate? Like, how do we know which one to do? So majority of applicants for this year's funding cycle will claim the de minimis indirect cost rate of 15%. Okay, so that did change from the prior years, but please note if your organization is not going to take the 15%, let's just say you want to take 10%, please indicate that number on your indirect cost workbook so ESG staff will know that is the percentage you are wanting to take. So your indirect cost rate for ESG will be determined by your individual finance department or accounting team. So please make sure that you have those discussions in your internal discussions with your organization prior to putting that number in the workbook. All right, next slide, please. And so here's an example of what the indirect cost workbook looks like. Okay, so on the top section where it says indirect cost rate, please make sure to correctly put the correct number that your organization will be taking. Okay, and then it does not auto-populate, so make sure that you just enter that number correctly, and then the breakdown of your requested amount and the indirect amount. Please ensure that whatever percentage that you are taking, that the math does equal out and it does match also to what is in your budget as well. Okay, and then the budget detail is also on the second tab of this workbook, and so please ensure that those numbers match as well. If certain fields do not auto-populate, please make sure before you finally submit the workbook that all of the numbers match the percentage-wise, and both tabs on the workbook do match. All right, next slide, please. Okay, TIN and STD 204. So is the STD 204 required for a nonprofit? And the answer is yes. So if you are an applicant that is a nonprofit that is applying, the STD 204 will need to be filled out and signed and uploaded with your application. All government entities will submit a government TIN, which is a different form if you are a government entity. So that is a required form as well. Do these forms need to be signed by the authorized representative named on the resolution, or can another person sign? So these forms can be signed by the person in your agency authorized to sign financial documents. It's not necessarily the authorized representative named in your resolution. If that is the case for your organization, if it is also the authorized rep, then they would be the person to sign. If your organization has a different person that is authorized to sign those documents, then they can sign the STD 204 or the government TIN if that is the case for your agency. We cannot locate the sections in eCivis to upload the STD 204. So we just went over that in the application demo of the portal. And so in the application section, where you are selecting your organization type, that is where you upload the STD 204. And then also we have those additional upload sections under the application section as well. Okay, next slide. All right, where can we find all of the requirements for the 2024 ESG NOFA application? So pages 15 and 16 of the NOFA identifies the threshold requirements for your application to be considered for funding. So please refer to the NOFA, the ESG NOFA that is on our website for details about the requirements. Also listed on pages 16 and 17 list the state and federal requirements for the ESG program. So please make sure that you are reading through those requirements and that you are familiar with all of the ESG program requirements. And finally, the last portion of the application lists that all threshold requirements of the e-Civis application. So these is where you can find a list of the requirements, and anything that you have additional questions about as far as requirements can be listed in the NOFA. All right, next slide. The application is different than previous years. Where can I find section A, section B, etc.? So for those who may not know, the 2024 application was streamlined to improve the overall process. And so for those that may have applied in prior years, and you're in the application portal, you're like, this looks a little different. I don't see section X. I don't see section T. Where is it? And that is the reason. The reason is we streamlined everything. We updated sections. We added some sections that are new, and we also removed some sections that are no longer required. And so so that is the case if you don't see a particular section. So the portal is not playing tricks on you. It is correct. Okay, and so just complete whatever is required in that portal. We had some changes in component requirements. Again, added some, deleted some. There's new minimums required for participant triage, things as written standards, coverage areas, and housing problem solving. And then also there's new requirements in some of our components, such as street outreach, emergency shelter, such as diversion and rapid exit. So there's new things for this application cycle, so not to worry, just complete what's in the portal. Next slide, please. All right, and then I think here we are going to pause before we kind of move forward a little bit more, and we're going to kind of take some questions. And so I want to see, thank you, Gio. And so I want to pass it over to Amanda, because I believe we do have some questions that were submitted in our Q&A box. Take it away, Amanda.
Yes. So the first question is, are we required to include goals for special populations in the goals worksheet? So the answer would be yes, but if you obviously don't serve special populations, then you don't have to fill it out. We don't require you to fill anything out if you don't serve that certain population. The next question, we are from the city of Salinas. In the last section of the state resolution, our city clerk stated that the blank spots will be filled in with a California charter city and municipal corporation. Would you like it written exactly like that, or should it be formatted in a specific way? Please let us know your preference. Would you like to take a stab at that one, Tim?
Gosh, can you read? I mean, would you mind reading the last part of the question one more time?
Would you like it written exactly like that? So a California charter city and municipal corporation. Or should it be formatted in a specific way?
I believe the way that you stated it, I believe that is fine. So I believe our legal affairs departments will have the final say if that is acceptable or not. But from what I'm hearing just now, I think that will be acceptable. Yeah.
And then while we're taking these questions, someone asked in the chat, can you please show those links again from the previous slide? There you go. And then I'll just continue with questions. So next question. On the budget, where does match go? In the other category, is that correct? And I believe that is correct, right, Tim? That's what we've been
Yes.
telling everyone. And then
that is correct.
And you'll do the cost share option on the right-hand side. That way it doesn't add that funding into your budget total.
That is correct.
Okay. Next question, on the budget worksheet, do we declare matching funds for just the first year? There's also another section for matching funds in the application. Is that for the full 3 years? No, you do just the first year of funding. So in the budget, just do the first year because we do not guarantee all 3 years in your budget currently. We only know what this year's budget will be. So please only do the first year's budget. Next question. Can we apply for project delivery costs for an internally managed project, or does that need to go under general admin? I only saw admin on the budget for subrecipients, not internal programs. So we don't have project delivery costs in ESG. We have admin or indirect costs. So that's where you would get your admin for these projects. So again, you can have up to 1% admin in your budget, and then you can also get indirect costs up to 15%, unless you have a NICRA or a cost allocation plan that's higher than the 15%. Next question. Once the final submit button is clicked, does that conclude the application process? Last year, after submitting, a few more sections popped up asking for a variety of things. I believe at the end you submit and you're done. Is that right, Tim? I don't think there's any trick things at the end this year.
We were
I
attempting to get rid of that.
Yeah.
So our goal was that those options went away when we did this application.
Yeah.
One of the challenges that we've had is because we were changing the application so much from the previous years, is that there were places where we did not immediately notice that there was something already in the application that we didn't delete. But you should not have any additional questions that come up.
Okay. Next question. If a nonprofit is applying directly, is the expectation that they should answer all the racial equity questions from their perspective, or should it include COC perspective? So whoever is applying, you would answer the racial equity questions from your perspective, not the COC perspective if the COC is not applying. So whoever is applying, you would answer from your perspective. Next question. The COC will only be recommending the city. Can we still apply? So if the COC is recommending the city and the city only, then no, you cannot apply, unfortunately. Sounds like the COC may be recommending an AE. And so you may be able to apply to the city and not the state, but I don't know for sure. You would have to talk to your COC. If your organization is County of Fresno, do we enter County of Fresno in the applicant name, or do we enter our department name? So the applicant name would be whatever ends up on the contract. So whatever your contractual name should be, County of Fresno or County of Fresno, comma, Department of Housing and Community Development, whatever it needs to be. It should be whatever your contractual name is. Your project name can be anything you would like. It could be 2024 Street Outreach Program, 2024 Rapid Rehousing Program. So the project name isn't as important as the applicant name.
It's also important that that name matches across the board, across your TIN and all the other documents that you're providing to us. So it should be that name, on your resolution, on your TIN, and on your bylaws and that kind of thing. That should have the same name. We do check for that.
Thank you, Tuesday. Good addition. Can you please show what it would look like in the budget section? Like what we put in Title and description for match. Are you able to show that live, Tim?
Yeah, let me, I'm gonna steal the screen again. We'll jump to that section. So,
And while you pull that up, there's another question about match. Is the matching funds for 3 years? I understand the budget is just for 3 year, is for the first year, but is this separate from the budget? Can you please clarify what is required under the match section in the application?
I think I can answer that.
Are they talking about the match
Mhm.
document? Okay, go
Right.
ahead, Tuesday.
Yeah, so they're talking about like how matching their match certificate and the match in the budget. You want everything that's being entered into the into e-services for the first year. We'll make adjustments for the subsequent 2 years. Uh, so your match just needs to be for the first year. And we understand also that your match may change. So you may have an in-kind and cash split, and at the end you end up having all cash. So we just want you to acknowledge and know that you have a plan in place to do your match for this first year, and then for subsequent years we'll ask you the same question again when we go to do the amendments.
Thank you, Tuesday.
hey. Thank you. All right. So, so I'm in the application portal again. I believe we had a question about what the budget would look like. Was that right, Amanda?
Yes. So
Okay.
she'd like to know how you put in match. There you go.
Perfect. Yeah. So in the budget screen, applicants will go all the way down past the administration component, and then you'll see one component that says other with a number 1 in front. And so when you open that up, you'll have the option to add rows. And so whatever type of match you're going to be listing here, whether it's cash or in kind, you're going to want to make sure that the item type all the way over on the right is listed as cost share and not direct or indirect. So make sure it's cost share. And again, only the cost item or cost row, sorry, is required to enter numbers. And so this is where you would enter that number. And then once complete, if you scroll to the top of your budget screen, you can see that the match number will populate along with your other totals for direct and indirect costs. So there you have it.
Thank you, Tim.
Mhm.
And then can you go to the goals now?
Mhm.
So we can look at the next question. Can you clarify the meaning of target units in the goals section? Does this refer to people to be served or to actual units of housing? Okay, so this would be people. Yeah, target units, we're referring to people. And then, of course, for emergency shelter, number of beds available or number of beds provided, that would be the number of beds. But in all other cases, it should be number of people or number of households. I'm sorry. So number of people, number of households, number of beds. It's whatever is listed on the left-hand side. So ignore the units category at the top. That was just an e-civis automatic thing. Under goals, how are we supposed to know ages and gender? Do we just put I don't know for now? Yes, you can do that. We already had someone do that and they put half of the people as they didn't know for sure yet. So it's a target. These are not actuals. Your APRs or your annual performance reports are actuals. So these are goals. They are not actuals. So if you don't know, you don't know. So just do the best you can. You aren't scored on these. These are not competitive applications. So just fill it in the best you can, but fill in all of the sections that are applicable to your application. Like we have one more. Do we report our subrecipients' indirect costs on the indirect cost budget workbook, or do we report our indirect costs on the admin we plan to claim? If it is our subrecipient, do we submit the indirect cost budget workbook later, as we have not selected our subrecipient yet? You want to take a stab at that one, Tuesday?
I can try. Yeah, absolutely. This is a super confusing one. You can claim indirect costs for services that are actually provided. And so think of it that way. Um, so in this case, if you've got a rapid rehousing subrecipient that you're going to be selecting at some point, and we know that you haven't selected these yet, you, you when you actually bill to us, you're going to claim your actual indirect costs. You can do the workbook with the expected amounts, which will be probably your 15%, and that's probably what they'll aim for is their 15%. But remembering that we're no longer doing a across the board 15%. Not all of your costs are going to be eligible for indirect costs. So when you bill to us, you're going to bill to us for what you actually spent, the 50% of what you actually spent. So what's in your workbook is an estimate of what you're gonna expect to be claiming. So claim in the workbook for your rapid rehousing subrecipient that you will be choosing. Go ahead and do that at your 15%. And when you actually do the billing part, it may be different than that. I'm hoping that answers all the question. It just disappeared, so I don't remember if there was more details to it. For yourself on your admin, you can take your 1% admin, and you can also have as part of that be indirect costs. So if your 1% admin is going to be $2,000, you can have up to 15% of that be indirect costs, and that would be directly to you.
And just remember, if your budget isn't quite perfect from the get-go, we can always do a budget revision, and that doesn't take very long because it just gets approved by the rep and a specialist. So that's always a possibility. So it doesn't have to be 100% perfect right from the get-go. We can always make some minor corrections to indirect costs and such once it gets executed. And then Tim, I'm sorry, but someone asked if you can show the budget section again, the match, one more time.
Of course, yeah, no problem. Okay, so at the very bottom of the portal, where it says applications, budgets, and goals, go all the way to the right under actions, and then click on those three lines. And it was the budget section, correct, Amanda?
Yes,
Okay.
the match
Oh,
portion.
sorry, the match. Okay, thank you. So in your budget screen, go all the way to the bottom under other, and you're going to click on that hyperlink for other, and you will be prompted to add some rows. And so make sure if you are going to be adding rows, you can do this so you can add, if you're just doing one type of match, if you just do the one row, we have multiple rows here just to show the examples. And so if it's cash or in kind, you will list which one you're listing. Make sure that the item type on the far right is listed as cost share. That is going to be an important part. So do not list it as direct or indirect. Make sure it's cost share. And then under the cost row is where you're going to enter your match amount, whether it's cash or in kind. And then once that is complete, the totals will auto-populate at the top. And so you can see under where it says match cost share, there's an amount here, and then your other costs and indirect costs are listed here.
And then someone asked while you're showing this, can you show the match certification section and the application, please?
Most certainly, yes. Yeah. All right, so match Is the question for match exemptions or match worksheet?
Match
Maybe,
certification section.
well, we call it the worksheet. Is that what
I
the question is referring to, maybe?
I
It
believe it
just
is.
says,
Yeah,
yeah, it just
okay.
says match certification section.
Okay, perfect, yeah. Yep, okay, match certification is here. There are sections that have a red asterisk, so make sure that anything with a red asterisk is filled out with an answer. And I'll make sure all of the questions that are required are answered as well. And then the certification is at the bottom here, and where the authorized representative will be listed, and they'll have the opportunity to sign. Again, once this section is complete, go to the blue arrow and you can print, and then you can either electronically sign with the authorized rep signature, or if you're going to wet sign, and whichever method you are using. And then at the bottom of here is where you can upload that signed copy, is at the bottom here.
So Lauren wants to know if this is just for 1 year.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's correct.
Mm. Yeah, there will be documents that we will have to collect when we do the amendments to add the new money for the subsequent years. And that is the last question. Oh, we have one more question in the chat. Can you show how to access the application again?
Most certainly, yeah. 1 second here. So I'm assuming the question might be to where to access it from the beginning. So I'm just, if that is the case, if you visit the HCD website, hcd.ca.gov, and then you navigate to our ESG webpage, which is listed here, you're going to navigate to the icon that says Apply Now. Okay, and then there'll be a link to the eCivis application portal, which you can click on. And then in the eCivis solicitation listing, you're going to look for ESG, and where it says the 2024 ESG allocation application, you're going to click on that link there. And then you can click the apply button, which is right at the top here. And this will send you to, I'm already signed into the portal, but it will send you to the eCivis application portal sign in, and then you'll be prompted to sign in with your login and password there. All right, so Amanda, was that all the questions, I believe?
Yep, that's it for now.
Okay, all right, I'm going to pass it back to Tuesday, and if Gio can bring up our remaining slides, that would be awesome. Thanks, Gio, and Tuesday.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone for participating in today's office hours session. Also, thank you to Tim and Amanda and the HCD ESG team. We will not be holding office hours on April 9th and will return on April 23rd. We all have a training on the 9th and that we are required to attend. So we're going to take that day off and we'll be back on the 23rd with additional information. We do not have a plan for that particular presentation, but I'm sure it'll be very fascinating. As always, you can follow us on our social media platforms. And I believe there's one more slide. If you're looking for if you are looking to change where you're employed, we're always hiring and we look forward to working with you. Thank you again, and we'll see you in 1 month.